South, you got burned. Again, you trusted. You opened up. You said, this time feels safe. And surprise, it wasn't. And now here you are, sitting in the wreckage of, I should have known better. Asking the question people don't say out loud but feel in their bones, how do I ever trust again? Good question. Tricky answer. Because let's be real, trusting after you've been hurt? It's like petting the same dog that just bit your hand. Cute, but also potentially very stupid. But here's the thing. You're not doomed. You're just wounded. And wounds, they don't mean you're weak. They mean you were brave enough to risk something real. So if you're ready to laugh a little, cry a little, and maybe stop emotionally flinching every time someone says, trust me, let's begin. Part 1. Trust issues are logical and very annoying. First of all, you're not crazy. You're cautious. You're tired. You're a little bitter, sure, but you earned it. Trust issues are logic wearing pajamas and holding a security blanket. They say things like, let's not do that again. Remember last time? What if this goes horribly wrong in 7 different ways? They're annoying, but they're not stupid. They're trying to protect you, just in the most socially awkward way possible. So instead of fighting them, thank them. Pat them gently on the head and say, I hear you, but we're not going to live in fear forever. Part 2. How hurt really happened. Trust gets broken in weird ways. Someone lies, someone cheats, someone ghosts, someone makes promises they borrowed from a Hallmark movie and then disappears like a magician. Or maybe it wasn't loud at all. Maybe they just slowly stopped showing up, bit by bit, until you realize the connection was only real in your inbox. Regardless of how it happened, hurt is hurt, and it sticks. Not because you're weak, but because you invested. You handed over something precious, your openness, and now your heart walks around like, sorry, we're closed. Come back never. Part 3. The myth of just get over it. Ah yes, the classic advice from people who clearly skipped therapy. Just let it go. Not everyone's like that. You're being too sensitive. Time heals all wounds. Time heals nothing. Time just gives you more distance from the explosion. Processing heals, grieving heals, understanding the root heals. But just get over it is what people say when they don't want to sit with the discomfort of your pain. So here's permission to stop pretending you're over it. Because real trust doesn't grow from pretending. It grows from honesty. And if your honesty right now is, I don't trust anyone because people are terrifying, then that's a perfectly fine place to start. Part 4. Trust is not a light switch. Trust isn't binary. It's not on or off. It's a dimmer switch. And guess what? You control the settings. You don't go from never trusting again to tell me your deepest fears and bank account info in 24 hours. You test. You observe. You notice if people's words match their actions. You see if they show up, especially when it's inconvenient. That's not paranoia. That's discernment. And discernment is hot. Part 5. You don't have to be chill about it. You know what's overrated? Acting unbothered. You're allowed to say, I've been hurt before, so I move slower now. I'm not emotionally available. I need consistency before vulnerability. You're allowed to ask questions, to need reassurance, to have standards. Not because you're high maintenance, but because you've done maintenance on your soul and you don't want it wrecked again. Boundaries don't make you cold. They make you clear. And clarity is kindness, especially to yourself. Part 6. Don't trust people who hate accountability. Want to know a red flag? People who say, you just have to trust me, but flip out when you ask for accountability. Trust doesn't mean blind faith. Trust means earned reliability. It's okay to expect follow through, basic honesty, emotional maturity, the absence of gaslighting, a calendar reminder that you exist. You're not asking for too much. You're asking for what you give. And if they can't handle that, that's not your cue to shrink. It's your sign to walk. Part 7. You can be guarded and still grow. Let's be real. You might still be guarded. You might double-check people's intentions. You might scan every text message like you're decoding ancient. And you know what? That's okay. Because healing doesn't mean you forget what happened. It means you stop bleeding from it. You can still love with caution. You can still connect without diving headfirst into the deep end with bricks in your pockets. Guarded isn't closed. Guarded is wise. And wisdom doesn't ruin relationships, it refines them. Part 8. Trusting yourself first. Here's the plot twist no one tells you. Before you trust anyone else again, you have to rebuild trust with yourself. Because the truth is, what hurts the most isn't just what they did. It's that you saw red flags but gave them a pass. You overrode your gut. You made yourself small. You gaslighted your own intuition. That's the betrayal that lingered. So now the work is listening to your body, believing your instincts, saying no faster, saying yes slower. Because when you trust yourself, you won't let just anyone hold your heart. Part 9. When you start trusting again and panic. Picture this. You start trusting again, and suddenly your inner voice goes, whoa, whoa, whoa. Are we really doing this again? It's okay. Old fear flares up in new love. That doesn't mean it's a sign to run. It means your brain is trying to keep you safe with the tools it has. But you're not in the same place. You're not the same person. So this time you can say, hey, fear, I hear you, but I've got this. And keep walking forward with both courage and caution. That's real growth. Part 10. Trust is built, not bought. You don't owe trust to anyone just because they seem nice, just because they said the right things, just because they shared their Spotify password. Trust is built, moment by moment, pattern by pattern. It's built when they check in after you've had a bad day. It's built when they remember what you said 2 weeks ago. It's built when they don't disappear the moment things get uncomfortable. So don't hand out trust like free samples at a grocery store. Let people earn it. And if they do, beautiful. If they don't, thank you next. Part 11. Humor heals. Let's be honest, sometimes the only thing keeping us from crying at the betrayal is making a joke about it. Remember that time I trusted someone who said, I'm different? Iconic. My trust issues are so elite, they have a waiting list. Healing? More like healing, where I laugh so I don't cry. You know what that is? Survival. You're not avoiding pain. You're diffusing it. You're reminding yourself that while yes, the betrayal sucked, you're still here, still funny, still healing, and that's something to smile about. Part 12. Trust isn't a return, it's a reinvention. You don't go back to trusting. You don't become who you were before the hurt. You evolve. You build a new version of trust based on experience, self-awareness, and boundaries that would make past you weep with joy. You don't lose your softness. You just learn when to show it and when to keep it safe. And that's not jaded, that's intelligent. You're not becoming colder, you're becoming clearer. So how do you trust again after being hurt? Slowly, honestly, without rushing, with humor. With your eyes open, your standards high, and your self-respect higher. You trust again not because you forgot what happened, but because you remember who you are now. And you're no longer handing your heart to people who treat it like a spare key. You're wiser, stronger, still hopeful, but smarter about it. And that's the most trustworthy version of you there's ever been.